powerful symbol of authority, tradition, and chieftaincy. It signifies leadership, cultural identity, and a connection to the ancestors. The red cap is primarily worn by men who hold traditional titles such as Nze, Ozo, Ichie, Chief, Onyish. The number of eagle feathers on the cap can denote the wearer's status within the chieftaincy system. The red cap comes in different shapes, and each shape represents a particular hierarchy in the traditional institution in Igbo land.
There are two types of kola nut produced in Nigeria: kola nitida, otherwise called gworo, and widely eaten in northern part of Nigeria. Kola acuminata, also referred to as Igbo kola, is of local origin and occupies an important position in social, religious, and sacred ceremonies in Igbo society. It is seen as a vital and sacred fruit in Igbo land and serves as the major instrument of prayers connecting the ancestors. It cements discussions and also the fundamental bedrock of philosophy and proverbs. It is a symbol of welcome, unity, and peace. If kola nut contains one cotyledon, it is regarded as dump kola nut and thrown away. Kola nut with 4 cotyledons represents the 4 Igbo market days: Eke, Orie, Afo, and Nkwo. If kola nut contains more than 6 cotyledons, it signifies blessings and wealth, and it is celebrated. There is also another type of Igbo kola nut called Ojugo, which is referred to as the king of Igbo kola. The reproductive organ of the kola nut is referred to as the tongue, and it is removed after prayers and thrown to the spirit of the ancestors.
Ndụ a na-atọka onye anabara nke ya na ụlọ agwọ ibe anyị adị nọ ogologo ndụ arụ ike na ọdụmma ihe eji ene ndụ anya na onye nwere ihe eji ene ndụ anya na ịrụfụta nwere ya ịmara na nsogbu rere ya Olise bụ anyị na-ekene gị Chukwu okike onye ogologo ndụ na ogologo anya na-ahụ udo na ọchịchị anyị na-ekene na-ekene maka tata na-ayọ maka echi maka na ọsọ maka eme echi anya mara na anyị adị ka echi na echi anaghị agwụ agwụgwụ na ihe ya adịla anyị mma ndị be anya onwekwana ihe ọzọ na anyị enye ndị ichie jupụtara anyị na-ere nke
Good afternoon and welcome to the news update on Aneke TV. First, the headlines. President Trump says U.S. will not supply Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. China and U.S. agree to fresh trade talks. Senate wades into FG and ASU crisis. Enugu school heads and teachers trained to fight human trafficking. UNTH trains medical personnel on cardiac arrest management. Enugu Governor Mba to constitute committee to review alleged tax increase. I'm Deborah Wakaba with the details of the news. China and the United States have agreed to conduct another round of trade negotiations in the coming week as the world's two biggest economies seek to avoid another damaging tit-for-tat tariff battle. Beijing last week announced sweeping controls on the critical rare earth industry, prompting U.S. President Donald Trump to threaten 100% tariff on imports from China in retaliation. President Trump had also threatened to cancel his expected meeting with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in South Korea later this month on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. In the latest indication of the efforts to resolve their disputes, Chinese state media reported that Vice Premier He Lifeng and U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had candid, in-depth and constructive exchanges during a call, and that both sides agreed to hold a new round of trade talks as soon as possible. In the meantime, President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine appears to have come away empty-handed from a White House meeting after U.S. President Donald Trump indicated he was not ready to supply sought-after Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine. President Zelensky said after the cordial bilateral that he and Trump had talked about long-range missiles, but decided not to make statements on the issue because the United States does not want an escalation. Following the meeting, President Trump took to social media to call for Kyiv and Moscow to stop where they are and end the war. The Trump-Zelensky meeting came a day after Trump spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin by phone and agreed to meet him in Hungary soon. Away from that, the Senate yesterday intervened in the ongoing crisis between the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, and the federal government, which has led to a two-week warning strike. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund, Senator Muntari Dantuse, announced this after a meeting with the Union of the National Assembly Complex, Abuja. Senator Dan Duce, while acknowledging concerns and frustration that had prompted the strike, assured that the committee would treat the issues raised by ASU with utmost seriousness. Meanwhile, the federal government has commenced a comprehensive personnel audit and skills gap analysis across ministries, departments, and agencies. MDAs as part of efforts to strengthen data integrity, improve workforce planning, and drive a merit-based civil service. The exercise, known as the Personnel Audit and Skills Gap Analysis PASGA project, was officially launched in Abuja by the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Ms. Didi Esther Watson-Jack. She said the project would correct years of fragmented and outdated personnel data that has hampered effective deployment and planning in the service. She explained that the initiative will deliver accurate personnel records, identify skills gap, and ensure targeted training and deployment in line with government priorities. Moving ahead, the Obi of Onitsha, Igwe Nnaemeka Achebe, has expressed concern that political attention across the country has shifted towards the 2027 general elections while hunger, poverty, and insecurity continue to afflict millions of Nigerians. Speaking during the 2025 Ofala Festival in Onitsha, Anambra State, the monarch said the political class neglect of governance for early alliances ahead of the next elections was worsening the country's economic and social challenges. Igwe Achebe warned that abandoning governance in pursuit of political ambition could further deepen hardship and instability nationwide. He lamented